everyone, and welcome back to the Content Mix. I'm Carlota Pico, your host for today's show, and I'm excited to introduce Alwi Mohamed, who is head of content at Content Market King and also has over a decade of experience in marketing. Welcome, Alwi, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Content Mix.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, the pleasure is mine, Alwi. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you tell me a little bit about your journey? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, believe it or not, I used to be a bookkeeper. And when I was traveling to the Netherlands, I decided to stay and study here a while back ago. And I studied international business management. And once I finished, I started working as a marketer. And in one of the companies in my early days in my career, I worked for a company, and we were being crashed by the competition because we had a really low budget. And back at that time, there was not a lot of talk about online marketing. So I was investigating avenues to help level the playing field, and I stumbled across online marketing. So then I studied about it. I taught myself PPC, SEO, and helped the company create its first website. And once that was done, we started doing online marketing, and it exploded. I mean, we went from having a few people locally to people coming from all over the Benelux, that is Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, even Germany, coming to buy at our showroom. So a little bit of a background: it was a furniture export company which exported from Italy and Turkey, and it had a showroom in Rotterdam. So by the time I left there, we had competitors trying to copy us in the way we created ads and the way we created organic traffic. So we went from being such a small company that nobody knows about to one that was having international customers and had let's just say, a lot of attention from really big competitors like Alping, for example. If you're in the furniture industry, you know who they are. And that's what led me to online marketing. And after a while, I realized I had a talent. I'm a creative person, and my strongest attribute is creating content, because it was that creation of content that actually got a lot of people attracted to the brands I worked with. And so I decided to create Content Market King and focus more on content. And luckily, I have a strong backbone in SEO and PPC and in digital marketing in general. And behind that, the whole marketing concept. So.
Okay, what an exciting journey, Alwi. So tell me, what type of content did you create that attracted such a large audience to that brand, to that furniture brand?
Useful content, I would say. We were doing things that others weren't doing. So we were publishing videos, blogs about the type of mattresses, for example. If you're overweight, if you have sensitive skin, if you have trouble sleeping, we give people tips. So that was attracting a lot of customers. And from the PPC side of things, we created a lot of content that was very, very specific to a very specific group of people. So again, if it's people who are having problems with their backs and they're looking for a certain type of mattress, we zoomed into that. So we were really focused, and we went in, for the kill, basically.
Okay, fabulous. So then, of course, I have to ask you, Alwi, is there ever a perfect piece of content?
A perfect piece of content, luckily, thank God, no. Because if we had a perfect piece of content, we would stop growing, we would stop learning. And even today, after more than a decade of content of online marketing experience, I'm still learning. Now, you can get technically, you can create a perfect piece of content based on a certain formula. Again, if it's technical, like the SEO, the H1 tag, how do you write it, the amount of words or characters, the meta description, and all of that. You can get all of that really well, but Google, the next day they change the algorithm, they change everything, and then you start to do it all over again. As for content for people, that was content for machine. As for content for people, it's again, it's a difficult thing to get the perfect content, because the same target audience will have people who read the same piece of content and react differently. But again, that's the beauty of it. You don't want it to be perfect, but what you want it to do is resonate with the people and help them and make them take action and make them share it, because they feel, this is something newsworthy, and this is something I want the person that I love, who is in the same industry or in the same situation with the same pains, to use, as a solution. So that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for a perfect piece of content, because it does not exist, basically.
Okay, so if a perfect piece of content doesn't exist, how do you create content that is perfect or good for the machine, and also equally as valuable for the person?
Well, that's the thing with Google now. They've come a long way. If you create content that is useful for people, the machine will love it also. Okay. Back in the days, you used to stuff keywords. You used to really focus on the technical stuff. Now you do that because it's good, but I would say I would put like 80% you do it for the human, and maybe 20% for the machine, because it's good practice. But people, if they find that your content is useful, it helps them, it resonates with them, it will be reflected on how they behave on your website, on that particular page with that particular piece of content. And that will send signals to Google to say, you know what, this is a really good piece of content.
Okay. Do you use any tools that help you to zoom into the perfect keywords?
SEMrush, and I love SEMrush because it just makes things really clear. It makes things really easy. It gives you an insight on what your competitors are also doing. And that is also really important, because you don't want to be doing stuff, that may cost a bit more than usual, while your competitors are doing things that cost less and are working. So you have to keep your eye on the ball. You have to keep your eye on the competitors, and SEMrush helps you do that.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll have to incorporate that into my list of tools to use in the future, in the near future. Now, Alwi, let's talk about the Content Market King. So what does it offer that other agencies or other companies aren't able to do as well?
Well, I'm in this habit of zooming into a particular niche, and with Content Market King, what I do is, what they say, if you give somebody a piece of fish, they will eat it for one day. But if you teach them how to fish, they will have fish for the rest of their lives. So what I do, more than just being an agent, I actually reintroduce the companies I work with to their audience, validate their buyer personas, teach them how to talk in such a way that their content resonates with their target audience, and how to get them to take the actions that are important for their business success. So I'm a coach. I do the legwork, but I'm also a coach at the same time. So once we say, okay, we've reached the limit, the contract has ended, everybody's moving on, then they don't only get the advantages of having me being there, but they have a lifetime of advantage, because now they have the skills.
Very beautifully put. Okay, Alwi, so from your expert opinion and your experience so far, what type of challenges do companies face the most?
In the beginning, it's always a budgetary issue. A lot of time, the owners, I have to convince them about the value, especially the non-monetary value of creating good content and spending time on it and spending money on it, and that keeps recurring. That keeps recurring with small companies that I work with. And what I've learned from that is that take baby steps with them. And the same way they should take baby steps, depending on what industry they're in, but taking baby steps to get the customer to do what's needed to be done to help them. So, like, what was the Jerry Maguire who said, "Help me, help you."
Yeah.
So that kind of scenario.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are those baby steps? What do those baby steps look like?
Baby steps for me basically create the first piece of content. After we've done all the research, we've validated the buyer persona and everything. Create the first. Don't overanalyze. Create the first piece of content. Make sure it's good. Make sure you have effective distribution. That's what content marketing is all about. Distribute it where your customers are hanging out. If they're hanging out on Facebook, don't be doing that on Pinterest. So effective distribution. Wait for the I would say wait for the impact. Wait for the reaction. And I always say it's not necessarily a like, a share, or a comment, but look at the hidden metrics. How many people have viewed it? How many people have come to your website through it? What they've done? Have they stayed there long, or did they bounce? Did they take action? Did they do any queries? Did they ask questions? So that once we do that 2-3 times, and they start seeing the reaction from their target audience, they start getting enthusiastic, and then they want to do all sorts of things. Then I have to calm them down and say, baby steps, still take it easy. You can't do everything at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. Okay, Alwi, so you said to know where your audience is. That's the first step. That's your first baby step. Identify your audience. But your audience virtually can be absolutely everywhere. So how do you decide where to go to first?
Exactly. So the thing is, when you create a buyer persona, you make an estimation. Of course, everybody knows that. And then it's all about testing. It's all about research that's out there. Moms working from home are usually on Facebook, so that's your starting point. But then you branch out. You go to Instagram, you go to Twitter, and then after a few weeks, you look at the results. Is it really for my brand that correct that moms working from home look for solutions or talk about this issue on Facebook? You'd be surprised that they don't do that on Facebook. Maybe there's a forum, there's a really big forum that all moms go and talk, because then they feel secure there. They feel that they talk to each other, unlike on Facebook where you put up stuff and people react to. So you start where the people tell you to go find them based on research, but then you branch out and you go and see where they actually hang out. And it could be sometimes multiple places for multiple reasons, but that's how you go along finding out where the audience is.
Okay, so exciting, Alwi. So now let's put some of this theory into practice. What brands have created great content that has just really resonated with you?
What brand? Well, I will go back to a brand I was working with. It's a health and wellness company. They had a blog called the Zag blog, and we created a piece of content for mainly men, you would say. It's called calisthenics versus weightlifting, and it has currently 103 comments, and each and every comment is from the heart. And why it was great, it's because it was something that actually I was going through myself. I was trying to find out what kind of fitness regime is good for myself, because I was experiencing a lot of injuries. And so I scoured forums, and I saw two people arguing in a forum, and I said, I like this. They're both making really good points. So I just took that, turned it into a blog. I turned it into a conversational story rather than a narrated story. And as soon as I put it in, within hours, I had people flocking in and commenting, and everybody putting in their opinion and their advice. And that is the kind of content I think that works really well. If you know how it feels to have that problem and try to fix it, that is the kind of content that will resonate. So what I tell my clients all the time: do you know what your customer is feeling? Pick up the phone, call them, or have a one-on-one with 4 or 5 of them. Don't just rely on digital research. Actually go and talk to them face to face.
So it's kind of like building a business. That's what it reminds me of, right? Because when you're building a business, you're zooming into your own challenges or your own pain points, and then you're constructing a business around those challenges and those pain points. So content marketing is something similar then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't know the problem, if you don't know that people are suffering from the itch under the chin and how that feels, and you start writing about an itch at the back of the ear because it's similar, you're wasting time, you're wasting resources, you're wasting everybody's time, and it's not worth it. I mean, it may be it may be a beautiful piece of content, but nobody in your target audience wants to read it. So you really need to know the pain points.
I love how simple that example is, and I think everybody can understand it. Okay, Alwi, let's take a walk down memory lane. What
Mhm.
have been some of your most memorable marketing moments to date?
Most memorable moment is when I will never forget it, because again, it was at the it was like 6 years ago, again with the Zag blog when we started. And what happened is I was just reaching out to people, and again, we were not doing any paid ads to get people to the blog. And within 3 months, we had over 10,000 subscribers. Now, someone would think, how do you do that? I mean, on average, you have 3,000 subscribers over a year, right? How do you get 10,000 subscribers? It was really simple. I created content, really good content, but then I started reaching out to other people who had other fans who were similar to our target audience. And because I think it's because of this, I'm not, until this day, I don't know for sure. One of those people who agreed to work with me and to write a blog for us was an, I think you would say, a B-list celebrity. She acted in a few movies in Hollywood, and she was talking about how difficult it was to keep a certain weight when you are an actress. So she was talking to the youth and telling them, be okay, be yourself. And so she started writing for us. She wrote a few blogs for us, and she brought in a lot of subscribers. A lot of people started subscribing, and then after that, I had Hollywood fitness instructors. We had psychologists. We had physicians. We had nutritionists. All sorts of people coming in and writing the blog, and they were all coming in with amazing crowds, with amazing audiences that also fit our audiences. So basically, I would urge other people also who are starting out to basically do what we are doing right now, reaching out and creating content with other marketing entities.
Okay, excellent example. So basically, to tap into the power of influencer marketing.
Yeah, at that time we didn't have that word influencer marketing. At that time, again, it was just, hey, we have similar interests, do you want to contribute? And yes, okay. And I wasn't sure. I mean, I looked at her background, but because she was leading leaving Hollywood, a lot of the stuff she had done, she had covered it up, so you couldn't find it on Facebook or Twitter. Back then, Instagram wasn't that strong yet, or hadn't started yet. I don't know. I don't remember. But she had to show me. She had to show me proof of the movies she was in, and the clips where she was, whether she was an extra or she had like 3 minutes or 4 minutes of airtime, and the pictures she took. And I said, okay, she's genuine. But other than that, I didn't know. I didn't know that she has such a big following like that.
Yeah, you were ahead of the time, right? You were doing influencer marketing before there was even a word for influencer marketing.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with marketing. We always use these buzzwords, and like we label things, but these are things that have been there for generations, from the 60s or 50s, when people actually started, turning marketing into a profession.
Definitely. Okay, so you've offered our audience fantastic advice, fantastic insights, tips, everything, you name it. So then my next question would be, what's the best advice that you've received?
Well, judging from my name, you already guessed my faith. I'm a Muslim, and the best advice I got is from the Revelation, and it says in Arabic, "Inna ma'al usri yusra." Inna ma'al usri yusra. So it says the same thing twice to emphasize what it means. What people interpret it to mean is that after hardship, there's ease. After hardship, there is ease. But what it really means, if you really understand Arabic, it says, with hardships come ease. So basically, it's telling you it's like a train. So when you see the first cabin, the engine cabin, there's the passenger cabin right after it. So they're coming together. So when you're having problems, know that the solution is coming. And that has helped me a lot, whether it was personal life or work. And I try to remember that every time I face challenges, and every time, of course, as they say, there's at the end of the tunnel, there's light. And I think that's the best advice you can give anybody. We live in an imperfect world, and things don't always go the way we expect them. And I think that that kind of advice makes you stronger.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. Another phrase along the same lines is patience is key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Patience is key. Patience is key, definitely.
On that note, we are going to be moving into our next set of questions, which are our rapid fire questions. It's your recommendations for our audience. So to get this section started off, I'd like to ask you about your source of inspiration. Who do you admire? A professional role model or an influencer, perhaps?
Again, as a believer, for me, the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Prophet of Islam is my number one. But we'll set that aside because not everybody follows the same faith. But my number one influencer, my number one person who motivates me is the late Muhammad Ali Clay. Why? Because he was a walking, talking content creation machine. Every word from his mouth could have been a quote, could have been a tweet. Every interview of his could have been a motivational videos. The guy was just amazing, and he faced a lot of challenges. And in those challenges, he was always himself. And that is what I always tell young people: listen, you have to be yourself. If you're working somewhere and you can't be yourself, whether it's content creation, whether it's sales, whatever it is, if you can't be yourself and use your strengths to get results, get out of there, get out of Dodge, go somewhere else or start something for yourself. It might be hard, it might pay less, but you will be yourself, because you don't want to be in your 60s and realize you've been trying to please people. And when you try to please people, you don't please anybody.
I think that's the most powerful message of this entire interview. Thank you for sharing that with us, Alwi. Okay, and to finish up this interview, what's your favorite app or tool at the moment?
App, it has nothing to do with marketing. It's got to do with my kids. So I try to minimize the amount of apps I use. I try to be a more organic human being if you want to be. But my favorite is it's called the Schooler, and it's an app where everything that they learn at school, they have it in one app, and I can teach my children at home. And when they go to school, they're like, doing really well, and that helps me a lot because I'm very busy and I need to have everything in one place. So I know it's not what you expect. You might have expected something with the marketing, but that's my favorite app. I just want to show you one thing really quickly.
Yeah. Is that your favorite book?
This is what changed my perspective on marketing as a whole. It's called Utilities by John Bear, and he talks about simply if you help people, you get customers for life. As where if you only sell, you get customer for one day. And he is the first person I heard talking about empathy and using your brand to help people before you sell to people. And it changed completely the way I think about marketing until this day. So it's an oldie, but it's worth reading.
Yeah. No, and
Thank
it
you.
ties in nicely with your first comments of this interview about teaching somebody to fish versus giving them a fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, Alwi, thank you so much for joining us on the Content Mix. It was a pleasure to meet you. You're a very inspiring person, and I hope that one day our travels bring us to the same city.
Thank you so much. It was really great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I really hope that people who listen to this will benefit and, get a little bit of an edge over their competitors or whatever they're looking for in life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time again and energy. And to everybody listening in today, thank you for joining us on the Content Mix. For more perspectives on the content marketing industry in Europe, check out the Content Mix. We'll be releasing interviews just like this one every day. So keep on tuning in. Thanks again. Have a fabulous day and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.